Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to
afternoon.
today's discussion, and welcome Shaju Mangalam to our Mohanji Acharya's Facebook page. We are very happy to have you here. And for those who may not know, let me introduce Shaju. Shaju Mangalam is the head, actually, he's heading the State Office of India's Leading Industry Association, 𝒂𝒏𝒋𝒖, and professionally, he's an economist and financial analyst, so as a business leader. He also has a close relationship with Mohanji in a way, through earlier relations and as part of family. And on the other hand, he's also connected to Mohanji's consciousness and has experienced a lot of transformation in his life. He has been actively involved in 𝒂𝒐𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒋𝒊, and it has lasted for about 20 years so far. So I invite every one of you, if you are curious, if you feel inspired, or if you would like anything more to know, please ask your questions in the comments below, and I'll tell Shaju Mangalam to answer them if possible during this session today. Okay, so Shaju, we know each other, and how we met, it is really, really a miracle. Also through Mohanji family, right? Because I don't know whether there would be any chance that two of us would meet on either professional level or any, geographical level, because we live in two different parts of the world, you in India and I live in Serbia. And then you're in this corporate world leader, and I'm an English teacher and yoga teacher. So totally like two worlds, seemingly two worlds. But this is an amazing way how masters work, and somehow they connected us through this Mohanji family. So we are one in consciousness and now in friendship as well. For those who do not know, let's say, I've been initiated as a Mohanji Acharya last year in Acharya training in Bangalore. So my name is 𝒉𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒍𝒂𝒎, and I will be happy to lead you through this discussion with Shaju Mangalam, who's going to share his precious experiences with the Mohanji, who likes to call himself a friend who transforms. Although he's a master, really people respect that and lie down, do various spiritual practices on it. He just likes to call himself modestly a friend who transforms. And he's beyond all this, much more beyond this, right? We all on dimensions of simple friendship. But he also wants to say, I'm a person whom you trust. What can you say about that, knowing Mohanji for all these years? Can we say that Mohanji is a person whom you trust? Because we have friends who sometimes betray us, who do not stick to their words, or who give promises, do not walk the talk, etc. So what can you tell us about Mohanji, knowing him so well for years?
See, first of all, I would like to thank you for giving this opportunity to come on this platform and address the Mohanji Acharyas. All of them are selected by Mohanji, and they are all connected with the consciousness of Mohanji very deeply. And I feel that they are all privileged souls, who have intense connection with Mohanji to understand what his principles, or what his teachings, and what is his spiritual, the lineage, the masters. So entire universe is like a family. The way this has been transformed, the continents and languages, it is not a barrier. Everybody is coming closer to one consciousness, as the Mohanji consciousness. And what I really, learned from the association with Mohanji as a friend, as a person with whom I have interacted with him as a friend, and very close, fun, and all these things were there. But the underlying principle or underlying feature of that existence of Mohanji is very powerful, intense, he always wanted to give to the whoever is seeking anything, help from him. So his power of giving away, I mean, whatever, whether it is financial help, whether it is any guidance or any, help of the suffering people. So his power of giving has really, that is something which has really attracted me. And also everybody, 99% of the people are reluctant to give away. I mean, we have a lot of material comforts, we have a lot of things are there. We are so possessive about our money, our material things, our pleasure, all these things, we are very skewed and confined to our own family. But Mohanji taught us what is that you give away. When you give, who are seeking, not to everybody, but those who are really seeking, you give whatever they want, if you are able to afford. That power of giving actually is the real transformation that anybody can, imbibe from Mohanji's this thing. So he has been telling me, my each moment I live for, if I can contribute for the others' well-being, I'm happy. So that gives the happiness, that gives the power of existence. So our, my association or my interaction with Mohanji was actually helped me to heal as well as transform me. I have gone through a lot of, I was a professional as well as personal. I have a lot of challenges, which is even today also it was there. So all these things, whenever I have that kind of a challenge or a problem, I go to his teachings or his principles and other things. So that gives me a direction, a revival of the existence. Sometimes we feel so depressed, we are down, we can't keep always the same kind of stability which Mohanji is. So we all have professional challenges, personal challenges. So sometimes we feel high, sometimes we feel low. So this happens to most of us. But when you go to him, then you absorb something, then you can bounce back to the real dynamics of life. So this is one thing which I have learned from him. And he used to tell me, you look at me, how many times I fell down in his, throughout his, last 25 years, if you take a lot of challenges he had to face, how many times I fell down, but I woke up and walked, moved ahead. So that is the power. Whenever you fail, whenever you fall down, you need to have the power to wake up and move ahead. So that is the power. There will be, nobody is free from challenges, struggles. Everybody undergoes different kind of challenges or struggles of life. But the power is to wake up and move ahead. How to see the value of life. The value of life is giving away. Whatever is there, you should help others. You should give to people. So that is the underlying principle which I have learned from. I hope I could answer the question.
Yes, that's wonderful. And you mentioned exactly what we got, let's say, a few words today from Mohanji, that great successful people in the world have failed many times before they found success, right? So their claim for fame is their ability to get up and walk again after each fall, unaffected, exactly as you said, unaffected by their defeats, or let's so-called defeats. So perseverance, he says, is the success mantra. So you have maintained your high position in corporate world, in Indian industries for many years. So how can you describe this perseverance in your practical life?
What I always adopt, what he has given a direction. A person has to be successful in his life. He has to have intensity in his all actions. Whatever thoughts are coming, if it has to transform into action, we will have so many thoughts, but if it is sincere, today morning also, I was actually, not last 2 days, I was not feeling very well, because, so today I was, morning I had, I thought that, I will see Mohanji's live discussion with the Singapore, the people. So I just logged in and I was viewing him. So he was coming to the point which actually, transformed me that moment, I was actually feeling very low. So then he was saying that you will have a lot of thoughts, but that thoughts needs intensified effort to execute that thought. So unless that intensity is not there, you are not going to, see manifestation of that thought into action. So if you see Mohanji Foundation or Mohanji's initiative or Ammu Care or now Act for Hunger or Early Birds, any initiative Mohanji has touched with, that is actually with good intensity and good power. So which has actually manifested as a universal force, which many of us are experiencing the benefit of it. So unless any good thought, unless we are not actively implementing that thought into action, which is not going to have any impact on the social dimensions. So this is very fact in the corporate world also, because last 3 months, I have been handling so many challenges. Many employees lost their job, migration of labor going back, poverty was striking many of the labor camps which is run. Companies were not able to pay their salaries. So many challenges which was happening. Every day I have been dealing with these multifold challenges which was happening. Factories were not able to operate. It has been shutting down. So much challenges, and every day we have 24 hours. The crisis management team was working on going to each places and dealing with the people. So that is the many of the corporates were seeing the downturn. So how to improve their morale, how to improve their the kind of business enthusiasm which they have in the pre-COVID era has to come back. So the challenge is to intensify their, how to help them, how to, modulate their, the path through this crisis. So there are a lot of training programs, classes, and including the CEOs, entrepreneurs, the human resources management, the working class, every segment of the corporates have been given various kind of, so I used to deeply go into his, the principles of intensity, standing and walking. That really applied into, this spiritualism, whether it is in corporate affairs, daily business, or anything. Spiritual aspect of life has a strong, linkage with our day-to-day life. Whether you are a teacher or any other people who are working in any other field, if they apply the same spiritual aspect in their professional thing, definitely they will be successful. They will be exceptionally good in their career as well as their personal life, and the satisfaction and happiness they derive out of their activities and daily life. So these are the things which I used to, get from his teachings.
Yes,
I
great.
apply to.
You get even more stability from the source itself, right? And then deliver that stability to others. And you manage thousands of people, so they really need that. And from managers, they can deliver stability to the rest. This is really necessary nowadays, especially nowadays, actually, any time, anywhere. How can power purity in thoughts, word, actions, selflessness, how can that help someone, or even you, resolve various questions? Because in the times of crisis, we ask ourselves deeper questions of meaning of life and everything else. And so how can this power purity, how can purity help people resolve mental questions in order to evolve?
Okay, That is a wide, only Mohanji he has clearly explained in his Power of Purity. The book, if you read through, you will, everybody will be understand. It has been explained in a simple, anybody can understand if one goes through that very carefully. Reading that book will definitely help. But reading alone will not be sufficient. We have to apply those, whatever we have read into our daily life. So purity means attitude of our with the nature, with the other living beings, with other human beings. You have an attitude. Some people don't like. They are very angry, or they are very. They always wanted to derive some sort of selfish interest for their own benefit from all relationship. So purity means, your attitudes towards the other living beings, the nature. That is one. If your thoughts are pure, if your attitude is pure, you will be able to, act in a pure way. So the actions will take the next step of purity. So it goes into a wide range of the life's circumstances. The meditation, the yoga, all these things, you have to apply with commitment. You have to apply with 100% dedication, and also understanding with the masters, and also the gratitude. Whenever you have something to do, you have to be grateful to masters, which they brought the energy to you. They brought this. Otherwise, there are millions of people are there. They are not able to connect with, the consciousness which Mohanji. But we are fortunate that we have got this opportunity to link ourselves with this, the noble soul and his dynamic effort to revive the other living beings' consciousness. So we are fortunate enough to have this, connectivity with our masters. There are so many masters which Mohanji has introduced. He is not saying that I am the only master. He is always very modest, and also very loyal to his, his own masters. Today also he was talking about. I mean, I read the 𝒂𝒏𝒋𝒊 Baba, who passed away, and he has written, so any master who is in connected with Mohanji consciousness, he is so loyal to them, and they all he always try to imbibe the value or the spirit or the religious or whatever that spiritual lineage which provide to Mohanji. So what I'm saying is that the purity has multifold dimensions. It can't be only one. You can see everything in that particular consciousness. So stability is one factor. You have to keep your mental stability always. I have seen Mohanji last 20-25 years. I have never seen him in a deviated kind of behavior, or anger, or sad, or furious, or sometimes nothing. I mean, he was always in the same way. He was always caring. He was always loving. He was always stable. Whenever anytime the problem comes, you can either contact him. So the right kind of guidance comes. So purity cannot be applied to one particular aspect. It has whatever, whether it is emotional, whether it is physical, whether it is nature, whether all these things, if you can apply the purity aspect in your life and interactions, that will definitely enhance your existence beyond the limits of a mere human being. That's what the book.
Thank you, Shaju. Then I've heard a lot of times that Mohanji calls you Dadu. Why is that?
I really don't know why.
You're Shaju and he calls you Dadu.
No, he has been he has been calling me Dadu for from the day when we closely started interactions. I don't know what made him to call me that, but he that is the fondness, or maybe he sees something. Basically, what is that, he wanted to, many times he poke fun, he talks to me in a funny way, but basically to highlight what shortcomings are there. If I'm lazy, kind of grandfatherly, I used to be very slow, maybe that could be the reason. I used to be very slow. I don't react. So he used to call me Dadu. I mean, it may be a grandfather kind of, behavior which I am displaying. So, the laziness, the not acting, the pace of the action is not the way he expected. So actually, he is trying to make me understand that you have to increase your pace of action. So all these funds which he's giving or he's talking must be to correct myself, make me understand this is not the this is the thing which you have to correct.
What does Dadu mean? Does Dadu mean grandfather then?
I think it is grandfather. It could be something of that sort. Yeah. No? So it could be that. So then a lot of experiences are there. I used to have, I don't go for, exercise and things like that. So I used to be very fat. I mean, those days. So one day he told me, he called a taxi. So then he told the driver that on the way, there will be a fat man who will be waiting for you. So, so the driver was searching for a fat man, but then he came to me. So then he told me that you are Mohanji, then I told, yes, I'm waiting for you. So he told me that Mohanji told me that there is a fat man who, but you are not that fat. So the thing is this, he just tried to, make these kind of fun and, make me understand that, you have to be dynamic, you have to move, something of that sort. So a lot of things were, funny things happened, all those things. So it's actually, it's a kind of correction that that really helps me to, help me to understand.
Definitely. Yeah. And when he jokes, he always has some style with people. And there are, let's say, occasions where he even shouts at someone. And this is not because that person is bad, but he's cleansing something from within, some negativities from that person, which are blocking that person from functioning fluently and with full capacity, with full potential. And on the other hand, he cracks jokes with some other people like you. And also I've heard that he's especially always careful and kind to other people. I know that those, let's say, they're people who experienced a lot of, let's say, maybe abuse or cruelty in their life or lives. And then he wants to break that pattern. And with his kind behavior, he actually changes that pattern so that that person experiences kindness. On the other hand, if some negativity in a person requires, let's say, shouting or seemingly looking anger, he will express anger. He will not be angry himself, but he will express anger, like putting on a coat of anger just to achieve that removing of blockages. I've also heard there are other people in the, in interactions with him where he cracks jokes. And then after that, these people feel much lighter, not because of the fun and laughter, but something from within shifted. So this is also seemingly making fun, but this is not just entertainment, definitely, or having fun. This is always working on something much deeper, making a person lighter, right?
That's right. And
do you remember any other similar anecdotes?
Yeah, there are certain things which he, I have only once in my life, I have defied an advice of Mohanji, which I regret very strongly. I never defied whatever he hardly says that you should do or you should not do. But one time he told me, which I have defied, which caused a tremendous strain, and even now I feel that pain. You know, this is something which long time ago I was staying in a house where Mohanji used to come every year. Twice he comes and stay, and that house was very uh, auspicious kind of house, which Mohanji told me. Uh, then he told me, don't sell this house. Never sell this house. And, but I sold that house. You know, I had to. Then after selling that also, he told me that you shouldn't have said, I mean, that is something. But the money I had to, you know, something which I was deciding, but then I got that the person who want to buy the house, and then I just disposed it off. But the money which came from that sale of that house, I had to spend almost all the money for hospital uh, treatment and other things, you know, something that made me understand the, you know, sometimes we take things very lightly. He told me a couple of times very strongly. That was a clear message to me, but I didn't understand the depth of that. You know, even now when I think, I feel that, you know, oh, he told me long time ago. So what I'm saying is that even all these, you know, we all are connected with him. He hardly say, you know, interfere in our free will, you know, but certain times he must be observed something. Then he will give a forewarning. You should not ignore that. I mean, anybody, you have to follow that. Hardly he interfere in free will of a person, but he must have sensed something, and he must have felt it very seriously, that should not happen or should happen. So he must have expressed it in his conversations with, you know. So this is something which has really happened in my case. He clearly told me this house is very auspicious. This house will only give you prosperity. This house will only see you growth. And then he told me, don't ever sell this house. But I sold it. The day I sold it, my balance of life has changed from good to, you know, confusion or chaos or something. So these are the things which are subtle. I'm just telling is my experience, you know. I'm just naturally expressing what I felt, you know. That is something which is, so whatever he says has to be adhered. This is my experience. Only one experience I have, which is very powerful, which has really, you know, gone that way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He sees it from a much higher level of consciousness than we can see, or without immediate, let's say, perspective. And he sees it from a much larger perspective, and sees all our ancestors and why maybe that house was important in your, let's say, line. Now, can you tell me about your experience with masters at Mohanji's house? You have visited
that is something
a lot of times.
Yeah, I have.
This house for everyone, like ashram, right?
Yes, I have been there, and whenever I feel distorted, then I go to his house, and I used to stay there, and I used to meditate. I used to see the masters in the room and the altar and the places where I used to sleep there also. And there are all, you know, that the lineage, the masters used to come and, you know, deep meditation. I have never experienced that kind of a deep meditation any other place. You know, I had experiences. Last November, I had an experience which I could chant for almost 3.5 hours. You know, I didn't know that it's 3.5 hours. It started at around 6:30 and ended by around 10:30 in the morning. I mean, that was eclipse day, but that was the power. I don't know how I did that. I mean, I have never done it in my life in the in the past. Wherever in other places I used to get distorted. I never got that imagery or visualization or the people, the master's presence and things like that. But there, whenever I go, I sit quite 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I close down and erected position, and then I can see that there is something, the energy, the vibration, or it just calm your mind, and then take to a different level of the peaceful sphere. So that has the presence of so much of energy, so much of vibrancy is there, and I could experience it whenever I have I have been there. I used to do this on a regular basis. So this is something which I have experienced it in various times. Mahavatar Babaji or Hanuman or various all these the vibration, that I used to feel there while meditating. I used to go very deep in, where other places I don't go that way. So there is a difference in when I'm meditating there. I have experienced so much of that in so many times. Very powerful.
Once you mentioned that you had insights, you received some, let's say, wisdom from within, several sentences to guide you further from the masters. So, do you remember?
That was sometime last year. I think I was there and I was deep. I went into a trance state. I mean, I was.
How has
that
transformed you?
No, that was something which I had some personal, problems which was going on at that time. I was suffering a lot, and then I went there. I was seeking. I didn't tell anybody that something which was affecting me in that way. But I went there, and I could sit and meditate, and I could profoundly see the solutions for that problem, and which I applied for that problem, which got resolved also. So that is something insight which I got. I exactly don't remember that the sequence of that thing, but it could resolve my dilemma at that point of time. And I got that wisdom from there to apply, a right solution to that particular issue, and then I could resolve that. So I used to get it often whenever I am there.
Yes, that's right. You even shared it on Mohanji's platform, like you said. Okay, you went to the ashram, and then you said, was it Babaji's presence, or?
Yes.
When you close your eyes, you said, after a few minutes, I closed my eyes. I was in a state of deep trance. I could see Mahavatar Babaji and all the masters near me, and I could feel Babaji around throughout. The sight was magnificent, and I had never felt or seen this before in my life. I don't know how long I was in that state. Seeing me in that state of meditation, others in the room quietly moved out, so they didn't want to disturb me. Being in the presence of Babaji and all masters of the lineage was the opportunity of a lifetime for me.
That's right.
I didn't feel like opening my eyes. I didn't want to come back to the normal state. I could see the blue light moving away as Babaji left. Babaji gave me two powerful messages. Would you like to tell them, or shall I remind
you? Can.
The first one was, be silent and never react to any situations or events which are either positive or negative. It will just pass. But if you react, the extension of suffering will prolong. Silence is the only way to live.
Yeah.
Right? And
I was dealing.
Yes?
Yeah. Please carry on. Yeah.
And the other one, the second one was, don't take anything in life for granted. Nothing is acquired by you. It's all given to you, and nothing is accidental or coincidental. Right? Can you
Yes.
comment on this?
Yes. And this is, my Mohanji only introduced me to Kriya Yoga way back in 2005. After that I went to 2006 or 7. I went for Kriya Yoga practice, where I had the Mahavatar Babaji and all these masters. I have been going, through that different sessions which I experienced. So the connection started from there only. So after that, this incident happened because I was confronting some professional issues, and there was a lot of challenges which was coming from the various organizations which I was working, and so there was I had taken something which granted, and that has gone wrong, so I was in deep trouble at that point of time. So then I went there and I could see that the silence, then I didn't react, that was these two things I applied actually in my this thing, which could resolve that. And it didn't take much of a time, sometimes you get the wisdom from this thing. And that was deeply, I was in a mess at that point of time, which these two things which helped me to resolve, these two things. Then after that, I posted this experience, and it was clearly, it was a wonderful experience that I had.
Yeah, you said that it struck you like a lightning. I could just imagine what that lightning could look like and feel like. I also received some insights from within like that, although maybe I was not aware of the physical identity, or actually I have identity of master, because I always contribute that everything to Mohanji, because masters work through Mohanji. So if any other masters are present, then I always feel as if it is also again Mohanji. And he says we should really appreciate that, because if it is just our visualization, if it is just our mind play, then nothing from within would transform. But the experience is real only if we get transformed from within, and then we are not the same person, right? Again, as you said, it helps you exactly in your immediate practical life. And this is the way masters work, right? They may not come a second time, and it's your duty, and actually it's our whole duty and responsibility, along with firm determination, right, to be determined enough, to hear that and apply that immediately, to trust that it has come from the highest consciousness and for our own good. So when we receive such blessings like these messages, these guidance from above, to apply that in our immediate life, yeah, and it's really humbling, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
It really, gives you, at least you have somewhere to go, and whenever you have some sort of that kind of a challenge comes, you have somewhere to go and seek solutions, so that is there. And it always, even today morning, as I was just mentioning, I had some, some challenges which was going on last 3-4 days. So morning, I just logged into Mohanji, and exactly what I wondered, a solution which he was talking to his Singapore audience, today morning. So I thought that it is for me, he's speaking this for me, so that I immediately I could come out of that particular state. He was talking about the thought and how we are influenced by the cycle of thought, how you have to observe the thought process and then go internally, deep into your own, instead of going external, go internal and then try to understand. So that was actually, he was speaking to the Singapore audience, but actually when I was hearing it, I thought that it's meant for me.
Exactly,
so
for you.
It could erase my last 3-4 days of, the crisis which I was facing, the challenges which I was facing. Through that 5 minutes of discourse which I could hear, whatever gist I got from his today's session actually changed my thought process. This is a master's power. So whenever I have any such kind of a situation, I go to his recorded videos or something which, posted on the website, go there and see and read it. So immediately that influenced me. And then I could come back to, the normal state of whether it is my work front, whether it is my personal, whether it is my social, anything, that applies. So it helps me to bring back to the normal state of affairs.
Exactly.
So
and
really, yeah.
I also, when I hear his voice, feel how this is not just about words, but much more about the vibration he transfers through the words. And with that vibration through the words, he actually works on people, uplifts a person from within. If a person is open to receive it, right? Who has eyes will see, and who has ears will hear. So it's all about changing the vibration, and even if it doesn't work immediately, and it happens, these words are then seeds which will sprout someday in our life. This is every time the case. Let's say I've heard many times in the retreats, for example, people are not able to absorb or digest everything which they receive. And, or probably it happened to me as well. Who knows how much I understood out of all that he gives, because each of us understands and connects as per our capacity, not per his capacity, right? Yes. So whenever our consciousness raises, then the next time we can hear the same words and get totally different wisdom from them, right? That's what guided me to ask you something even more about subtle experiences with Mohanji, because seemingly simple events may give deeper or subtle messages.
Yeah, subtle messages are mostly correcting, corrections. Every individual, I'm not consistent, I'm not stable, I'm not intense, I'm not, I have a lot of not, I mean, in the sense that, why, no. So whenever so that...
There are also yeses as well.
Yeah.
You're just...
But you have to, so when I see, yeah, when I see, I used to, because I have been with him for, so I could see the universe he has created from nothing. I mean, this is Mohanji's world is now universal. So many people, so many, services are happening. So many people are getting benefited out of his, his vision and his existence. Whether it is in terms of food, whether it is in terms of other help or psychological help or anything, so many people are getting benefited. So actually he has created a universe of his own out of nothing. I mean, if you look at, I mean, this is a sheer power of faith, conviction. Conviction is the most important thing, which he used to tell me. If you are convinced yourself that you are going to do this, then you will definitely achieve. If you are not convinced, if you are half-hearted, if you are thinking that, okay, this may happen or may not happen, and then you apply the strategies for making it happen, it may not be successful. If you really want to, convert a thought into manifested, that desired result, you have to have conviction. Anybody who has succeeded in life in creating value is through, first he has to convince. He has to, you take any leader or any master, first he has to convince himself. So that conviction should be very strong. This is the subtle message which I try to absorb, because I'm not as convictions are sometimes very meager, or sometimes it is not there. So this is something which I really want to, whatever I'm doing, I have to convince, and I have to do it with conviction. This is going to be success. This is going to have this result. I'm going to do this. That conviction has to come for any whether it is an Acharya or whether it is any other person. Conviction is the most important thing. Second thing is consistency. Once you are convinced to do this, consistency, you will have a lot of challenges. You may be your circumstances will not favor your your financial system may not support that, universe may not support that, but you have to consistently apply what you are convinced to achieve. So next phase is consistency. First conviction, next is consistency.
Consistency, commitment.
Commitment, yeah. So the third aspect is the commitment. Whatever that you are, these applications are there, then you will have a lot of people associated with that when you move ahead. So you have commitment to that. Anybody who is associated with Mohanji, he gives 100%. He doesn't ignore anybody's request or anybody's this thing. So that commitment is 100%. So these are the three aspects which is very subtly going very deep into this journey, is this conviction, consistency, and commitment. These three things have really, if you apply it into in your also life also, in your professional life, in your spiritual life, in your anything, you will be successful. You will be able to create what he has created, and you can become a Mohanji. I mean, that's what I but we are all, as far as I'm concerned,
as you mentioned, with intensity. Without intensity, there is no move, right? And when there are setbacks, to be able to really to react fast and jump back quickly. Now, what are the major transformation points that you can see when you look back and see your life before Mohanji and after interactions with Mohanji?
No, I was never into spiritual before I met him, and even after meeting him, for a few years, I took it as a more of a fun element, But the moment we used to discuss, he used to tell me all these things. I used to discard it, okay, kind. But later I realized that this has some more meaning. Then I started meditating. I used to chant. All these things, I started to do that. So gradually then I was moving towards that sphere. Then he also changed his pace. He introduced me to so many people, and then I discussed with them also. So I got something. There is something beyond the material life. There is something beyond the normal existence. So it is something, So gradually that exploration started. And then I moved with him. I also did the 𝒂𝒐 activities, then giving the people, that also has gone. Earlier I was never inclined to give anything to people. But now, I mean, later I realized that giving is actually a pleasure. It derives more pleasure than what we have, So if somebody...
I know that you helped even some students in their education, which are really dedicated and talented, and Act for Hunger as well. You're involved in that, aren't you? Act for Hunger.
Yes, that's right. So he exposed us to that kind of a situation where you can derive happiness through giving. So various opportunities will come. So you have to accept it, and so that is something which I have learned, helped me to. Then after that, there was some personal crisis which has come into my life. Then he was always there. And then my life has really changed upside down. I had serious challenges of, this thing. So that that is...
I know you told these experiences last week, I guess. Yes, last week in your conversation with Mr. Varghese and Mr. Rao, right?
Yeah.
With yes, about loss of your wife and loss of your father, right?
Yes, these are the two incidents which he was there, and physically he was present. Most of these times whenever I was in distress, because it's a call. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen. But that time he was there, that is something which I also experienced as a miracle. in the sense that though it would have been in a much worse situation to confront that state, but he was there to hold me, and then I could tide over and move ahead. So these two instances was clearly made me realize that there is somebody whom I can depend. I mean, knowingly or knowingly, the presence of the person in the life is going to have strength, gives you strength to confront any situation. So after this two major life changing episodes, this has really made me to understand what value it is and how to then my own existence. So then after these changes which had happened, I was really feeling purposeless of my own life. Why should I exist? What was the purpose of my own existence? And I didn't have any, then I lost my desire to live. These are all so many things which has happened, and I didn't have much interest in doing things, because I saw that good life and then the loss also. All these things really influenced me towards a path of pathlessness. So that was really, I didn't know how I made that 4 or 5 years of the troubled times to, change myself. So, but I always connected with him, and that has really helped me. He used to absorb, he used to understand what kind of situation that I was going through, and the timely medicine, because he whenever that intense time, there is no point in giving so much of spiritual. So he used to gradually made me to come out of that situation and reach a stage where the right kind of advice then he used to give me, and then I could deal with that situation and come out of the crisis. Now there is a purpose in life, there is a dynamism in life, there is a vision in my life, and there is a vibrancy in my life. So all these aspects have come back to my life, though there is sometimes there is ups and downs, but I'm almost out of that torrid times which I have, because life is not it's not free from some major, nobody can be free from that kind of a, everybody has to undergo some sort of struggles and other things. So how do you manage it? How do you come out of it? How do you deal with it? He himself has proved it. His own turmoil, his own 4 or 5 years of major crisis in his life, and but he stood. He has he has he has gained experience and wisdom from that crisis, and he has come back to the life, and he is giving to the world. So that itself is a major beacon of life for others to adopt. So yes. I am trying to
exactly, and in the name of people whom we lost, to spread positivity, love, and increase the quality of other people's and other beings' lives as well. So what are the most important messages that you could gather through the long interactions with Mohanji?
Again, it is going back to the same thing, which nothing should be taken for granted. You have to be silent. Mostly silence speaks more than what actually, your silent communication is more powerful than a rhetorical communication. So these are the, and sadhana is something else, we have to practice, keep on doing that. Whatever work that you are doing, whatever duties that has been, given on your life, you have to do with conviction, you have to do with utmost commitment, and then try to see the desired result, and then help others. Whatever that you have, it is, don't take things for granted. You have got something, you have to give away something, and that will give you the happiness which can definitely make you more worthy living being than just exist and die. And so these are the things which I could learn from. and I really want to adopt in my life also.
Thank you, Shaju. We have one question here from Samira Khan.
Okay.
She's from South Africa, and she asks, Dear Mr. Shaju, I'm currently in the process of start a business for a higher purpose. However, I'm also experiencing a loss of friends and feel that there are some people who are not really true friends. Have you experienced any such when starting business?
Yeah, in business, there is no friends as such. You know, everybody in business or in corporate world, if you look at everything is basically depending on quid pro quo. What I can gain, what I can, even in any kind of partnership which you have, or this is a kind of give and take. So they are expecting. That relationship is not a kind of, I can't say that it's not a true relationship, but it's a relationship which is built on expectations. Any relationship which is based on expectations are going to have, at one point of time, it will lead to a kind of stressful period. So business relations are always going to be give and take. Expectations will be there. You have to expect the person will at some point of time will turn against you, or turn some sort of pain that can lead. In business, it is going to happen because it's all driven by money. It is always driven by ambition. It is not driven by spiritualism. It is not driven by love and unconditional relationship. It's always a conditioned relationship. So that is something which we have to be careful. You also should not expect too much out of that kind of a relationship. There is a purpose of, okay, you have to have achieved this kind of a monetary benefit out of that business. You have to grow this much level. Then that's the relationship, the foundation of it. Beyond that, if you expect something, it is not going to work.
Yeah. Thank you, Shaju. And for the end, do you have a vision how you could contribute that people in corporate world shift their corporate culture, let's say through corporate responsibility, and turn their culture from selfishness, which leads to loneliness, to selflessness, which leads to inner richness?
Yeah, it is already happening. If you look at the crisis which the world is undergoing, this is everybody thought that the monetary or the technology is the power, and we can achieve to any extent without much of giving back to the society. So the greed and ambitions were going a lot of so the people have, but in reality, people, many of the corporate leaders are understanding that giving back to the society, giving back to the social cause is increasingly becoming the norm of existence. So that transformation is happening in the corporate world. Many of the people are going for CSR, corporate social responsibility, though there are tax benefit and other things are there. But people are compelled to do that, and many of the people are doing it. There is a spiritual, many of the corporate leaders are also spiritual path also. They give away all, but that is very small percentage. But there are transformation which is happening in the corporate world. The consciousness, the transformation, the social awareness, giving back to the society. All these things are actually gaining momentum in the corporate world. Beyond profit is going to be the mantra for many of the businesses in the coming period. When we see the COVID crisis, when we see the transformation which is happening, the value of life, the value of others' life, all these things are actually transforming the perceptions of many of the corporate leaders. Right? So I can see a dramatic changes in the coming era.
Thank you, Shaju. Your experiences are really valuable to us, and also your vision and your goodwill, your hope that these changes will happen and add value to the society. Thank you so much for spending time here, for taking time for this discussion, and I wish you a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.